But for a moment it endured, before being washed away by the waves and sand. You see, last week I stood on the beach. I was just on the beach shore. I wasn't swimming. I was just standing there, and I had my foot in the sand, and I saw that as the waves came in, they softened the sand on which I stood, and my foot slowly started to work its way down through the sand. But when I moved my foot, the waves continued to bring in more sand, and as the sands shifted and settled, it was as if my foot wasn't even there. I can tell you that the sunburn I got that day has lasted a lot longer than that footprint I put in the sand. Our lives can have a very temporary impact, can't they? In perhaps 3 or 4 generations after your own, your legacy can be completely forgotten, and really that's a sad thought. You've seen concrete that has maybe a footprint, or I know for me in the basement of my house, there's a handprint, literally, in the concrete of the foundation of my house. It's there today. It has been there probably for 65 years since that house was built. Over in Clearfield, Pennsylvania, just outside the main gate of the driving park, there's a stretch of concrete sidewalk that has, and for the past 30 or 40 years, as long as I can remember, has had a single bicycle track all the way through the length of that concrete. You see, they drove a bicycle across when the concrete was wet, and now that it has dried and hardened, that track is semi-permanent. As long as the concrete stays there, that impact will remain. You can think of maybe only a few people, relatively speaking, whose lives have had a semi-permanent impact. Those who, as long as this world endures, their legacy will remain. But when this world comes to an end, and it will, even those impacts will be gone. What sort of impact do you want to have today? Do you want to impact lives just for today? Do you want to impact society for even all of time, as long as this world will endure? Or do you want to impact souls for eternity? There's an author, C.T. Studd, no relation to former professional wrestler Big John Studd, although their last names are spelled the same. C.T. Studd wrote a poem called Only One Life. I'll read a select portion of that poem. 2 little lines I heard one day, traveling along life's busy way, bringing conviction to my heart, and from my mind would not depart. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Give me, Father, a purpose deep, in joy or sorrow thy word to keep. Faithful and true whate'er the strife, pleasing thee in my daily life. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. Only one life, yes, only one. Now let me say, thy will be done. And when at last I'll hear the call, I know I'll say, 'twas worth it all. Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last. It is strange to think, friends, that you and I stand here on the shores of time, casting stones into the ocean of eternity and causing ripples that we can see only for a moment, yet God can be trusted to continue on those ripples, those impacts for eternity. If you have received Christ as your Savior, that's because someone else once threw that stone and impacted your life for eternity. And that's more than a footprint in the sand. That's more than a bicycle track in the concrete. That is the greatest impact, the highest and greatest legacy that one individual can possibly have on another person. And it will last forever. What sort of impact do you want your life to have? For a few years? A couple of generations? Or forever? What impact do you choose? I can't, in my own power and authority, impact eternity. I simply don't have the reach. But there is one who does, and his name is Jesus. And every treasure that I store up in my basement, or in my yard, or in my driveway, will pass away. And that's why Jesus said, don't do that. Don't store up treasures in the here and now. Store up treasures in heaven, because they will last forever. And to the extent that I lay up treasures in heaven, and encourage others to do the same, my life can have an impact that will last forever. And the crashing waves of this world and the shifting sands of time will never wash away that legacy. And that's my prayer for myself. That's my prayer for you today. Thanks for tuning in. God bless you.